Tonight on Q2, the struggles inside mental health.
They don't realize that it could be the president of a big company. It could be anybody.
Now more help is on the way, plus a neighborhood nuisance.
Today I called the police to see if it was safe enough for my grandkids to come out and go to school.
This home has become a hotbed for crime, leaving neighbors frustrated after yet another shooting and a parking lot confrontation.
But I just knew that something has to be done with things like this.
Residents take action against alleged shoplifters. The MTN 10 o'clock news starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday night. I'm Russ Riesinger. A legislative commission converged on Billings today as they aim for solutions on a growing problem, that being mental health. The commission started from House Bill 872, which allocated $300 million to help the behavioral health system. Those funds can go a long ways towards tackling the issue, but now members have to decide how to best allocate the money. Our David J. attended the town hall to learn just how much the help can mean for people suffering.
A legislative committee heard from the public about mental health issues, appointments, reimbursements, expenses, and health insurance, all some of what the commission learned at a town hall meeting.
This has to quit being a problem that we just ignore.
Mike Clough was one of several who talked about mental health challenges. He lost his wife to suicide 5 years ago.
Didn't see that coming. I mean, she was battling. We thought we were going through all the right processes, but, we didn't understand how deep her depression was.
Cheryl Schaefer has also been dealing with mental health issues for several years and knows the toll it can take.
And each time I go into a major depression, I go lower. And I have this suicide line that I say if I get too close to that line, wow, it scares me.
Schaefer is also a past board president of the National Alliance on Mental Illness in Billings. Her advice is to not let the stigma of mental health be a deterrent to getting help.
The only way you can maybe bust the stigma is to speak out. And that came after I had gotten comfortable with what I was dealing with.
Bob Keenan, the chair of the commission formed from House Bill 872, set up the town hall to help solve this growing crisis.
How do we fix that? How do we connect people so that they know when a situation happens in their family, who to call, who's supposed to respond, and where do you go?
The legislature allocated $300 million to help with mental health. So far, it plans to use $25 million of that. It has put $10 million toward workers for residential treatment, $7 million for evaluations, another $7 million for mobile crisis and response, and $500,000 towards crisis worker curriculum.
And it's not just absorbing or taking money, but it's actually having a positive impact on behavioral health.
And for people like Schaefer, part of the hope is talking about it so it can help others.
That's part of the stigma busting, is that there is a way out and there is a way to live with it.
The commission will focus on child mental health on Thursday at the Boys and Girls Ranch. In Billings, David J., MTN News.
Newly filed court documents accuse a Montana fire chief of pepper spraying and assaulting police at the U.S. Capitol during the January 6, 2021 riot. A warrant for the arrest of West Valley Fire Rescue Chief Frank Dahlquist was issued on January 4th. He made his first appearance at a federal district court in Great Falls today. According to court documents, Dahlquist, who was working as a firefighter in Washington at the time, was allegedly captured several times on video from security cameras and officer body cameras. Investigators submitted pictures and video that they say show him spraying an orange-colored chemical into the face of a police officer. There are no charges at this time, and West Valley Fire Rescue told MTN they were caught off guard by the situation and unaware of the allegations. Man is now facing charges in the death of a 64-year-old Sheridan woman found beaten to death inside her home. That woman, Leonilla Melvin, was found Sunday by her husband on Gladstone Avenue. Police say she died of blunt force trauma. Sheridan Police Captain Tom Ringley says the suspect is 22-year-old Israel Melvin, now charged with second-degree murder. Melvin has been in jail since Sunday after being arrested for a controlled substance. Ringley says police don't have a motive for the murder, and it's unclear how the victim and suspect are related. A 34-year-old Billings man remains in critical condition tonight after showing up at a Billings hospital with gunshot wounds. That shooting taking place in the 300 block of South 28th Street. That's the same location where a 5-hour standoff happened back in November following the death of a Billings man and his infant son. MTN's Marcus Kakova spoke with residents in the area and also spent the day investigating that property's troubled past.
Here on South 28th Street in what many refer to as the south side of town, where police are investigating a shooting that took place in the residence behind me, something that residents say is all too familiar for this part of town. Like one woman who didn't want to show her face out of fear of being seen as what she described as a cop caller.
Never travel at night in the alleyways, not on the south side. You will get mugged, stabbed, or raped.
Her neighbors are at the center of police activity again. A 34-year-old man was in critical condition Wednesday with multiple gunshot wounds allegedly suffered at this house in the 300 block of 28th Street. Any hesitation with coming down here today? I know you're picking up your bike.
It kind of was, I was just like, oh my God. This part of town is always bad anyway. It's just what it is.
A suspect has not yet been identified, and the investigation is ongoing, according to police.
Today I called the police to see if it was safe enough for my grandkids to come out and go to school.
Back in November, arrests were made at the same residence after a 1-year-old and a 31-year-old were killed at a north side home.
I do have 2 small children, and they kind of developed a defense mechanism to where when they hear those gunshots, it's common around here. They will get down on the floor and they'll start crawling.
We spoke to the house's owner, Gary Wheats, who owns multiple rentals across the county. He says he only learned about the crimes from news reports.
I don't know anything other than what I heard in the news. There have been tenants in there that from time to time, I think, were involved in some kind of criminal activity.
There were 7 code violations listed at the 28th Street house in 2023 and 37 in total since 2010, but all were rectified after calls to Wheats, according to Billings Code Enforcement, which said in a statement, "We've had cases on this property in the past and very recently for open storage and junk vehicles. The owner has always brought the property into compliance with us after being sent a notice." Now residents are looking for local leaders to take action.
Condemn those houses, evict the people, and just tear them down. That would be a good thing.
Marcus Kakova, MTN News.
Temperatures today started off the warmest as we were in the low 30s first thing at about 8 a.m. Then temperatures continued to glide down into the teens even by lunchtime. And then earlier this evening, we started to move into the single digits, and we're still on a downward trend this hour. So it's bound to be that we could be close to some record cold temperatures, right? Well, on Saturday, we could be close to both a record cold low temperature, and if the afternoon high doesn't make it above 8 below 0, we could also set records there as well. We'll likely adjust the forecasted temperatures a little bit, but we're certainly on track for some cold temperatures again on Sunday and Monday mornings. We haven't set a record cold temperature in the month of January since
Today, Montana Attorney General Austin Knudsen was heard as a witness at a U.S. House committee hearing regarding an impeachment inquiry against President Biden's Homeland Security Secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas. Knudsen was one of 3 Republican state attorney generals who testified about a spike in drugs and violent crimes. They say that it can be traced to, quote, inadequate security on the southern border. Knudsen pointed to the significant rise in fentanyl seizures and overdoses here in Montana, as well as human trafficking cases. He believes Mayorkas violated federal law by instituting a policy that led to the release of many people who crossed the border illegally.
The Trump administration overcame fierce opposition at every turn and was able to gain control of our southern border as no previous administration could. But all of that progress has been destroyed. Secretary Mayorkas is the architect of that destruction.
Democrats have called the impeachment inquiry an inappropriate and politicized action that won't really address the situation at the border. Knudsen's testimony comes a day after Montana Congressman Matt Rosendale filed articles of impeachment against U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. 5 days before the Iowa caucuses, former New Jersey Governor Christie is suspending his campaign for the Republican presidential nomination. In an impassioned speech, Christie said he was reluctant to exit, but could no longer see a path to victory and didn't want to help Donald Trump get back to the Oval Office. He frequently called out rivals for failing to denounce Trump.
I would rather lose by telling the truth than lie in order to win, because this is a fight for the soul of our party and the soul of our country.
The top two challengers to Trump, Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, held another debate tonight, minus Trump, who has refused to participate in any of the debates so far. Montana Governor Greg Gianforte cut the ribbon today on a new facility that will bring nearly 400 new jobs to the state. Brickstall Defense, a military ammunition company, is now investing $125 million into Glendive. The corporation, based out of Virginia, looks to create 350 new jobs by 2028, lining with the governor's goal of creating more Montana jobs. According to the governor's team, Brickstall chose Montana because of the state's favorable laws toward the Second Amendment and a high-quality workforce. This new facility will help the company bolster its production capabilities and strengthen its commitment to supporting defense, federal agencies, law enforcement, and NATO allies. The state's Department of Labor says that more than 21,000 jobs have been created since 2021. Still ahead on tonight's MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2, stopping thieves. Billings businesses getting creative and a Billings resident jumping into action to prevent shoplifting. That story next. And later in sports, like father, like son. A Billings West wrestler aims for a four-peat, looking to pin his way into the Montana record books. We'll be right back.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Shoplifting continues to be a big problem for Billings retailers. In 2023, Billings police investigated 1,147 incidents, up from 1,066 reports in 2022. That's nearly an 8% increase. And tonight we hear from a Billings woman who saw it happen in front of her eyes at a Billings Albertsons. As our Charlie Kleps explains, she says she felt so frustrated she had to take action.
It was in this Albertsons parking lot where Amy Burrows was met face-to-face with a couple of shoplifters. But instead of ignoring the problem as she's done before, she got involved, taking pictures of them in action.
I was walking in to get some groceries.
When Amy Burrows arrived at Albertsons Tuesday night, a routine trip to the store quickly turned into a situation she can't stop thinking about.
As I was walking in, they almost ran into me with their cart.
That was the moment she ran face first into this couple, whom she believes was stealing several carts full of groceries. She says the wheels on their cart jammed and none of the items were bagged.
They didn't even take stuff that they need. They took stuff that they want. Valentine chocolate, Armor All for their car, Pepsi. They didn't have milk and bread and that kind of stuff.
And unfortunately, retail theft is becoming a big problem, not just here, but across the country. According to the National Retail Federation, 83% of retailers now say retail theft is a major problem.
We see it at least once a week. It's really disrespectful.
Tim and Megan Harris own Second Chance Marketplace on Grand Avenue. The couple says they can't even keep track of how often they are stolen from.
I assume it's daily. We just don't have time to monitor the cameras.
Their store caters to people seeking secondhand items with a focus on keeping items affordable. And their unique business model is a part of what makes this so frustrating.
If it's affordable, then you can buy food and you can buy stuff for your family.
That's really sad. People running out with cartfuls of stuff, people grabbing stuff and running. Our prices are low and we work with people.
As for the thefts at Albertsons, the store is looking into it, but there is little employees can do. An Albertsons spokesperson says, quote, "Our policies strongly discourage associates from confronting anyone suspected of shoplifting, and only associates who have undergone de-escalation training should intervene."
Why should you get groceries for free when the rest of us have to pay for them?
Frustrating for not only retail stores, but also shoppers who worry the problem will only continue to grow.
Something has to be done with them, or it's just going to get worse.
In Billings, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
Ed joining us again. Those temperatures starting to drop out there.
That's right. We want to keep you informed, so download our free app. We'll keep you informed not only on the forecast, you can check out the radar, incoming snow, but we'll also give you alerts when the temperatures really start to drop. Those wind chills are a factor, and when we could even set some record cold readings. We'll talk about that when we come back.
The MTN 10 o'clock news continues right after this.